Let's get to the other side of the street here, the AEW program this past Wednesday night, because there's big news going on. None of it's on television. Not a lot of big news on TV, but there's big news going on in the company. And there was an element of tip-off of that in the first segment on the TV program with our returning champion. Finally, he's back. Like Mussolini with an annoying hangnail. Here comes Punk straight out of the box, and he's got a live interview, and he gets the big CM Punk chants. They're in Charleston, West Virginia, the home of Tudor's Biscuit World. That people are up and they're ready to go. And there was not a lot of time wasted on this, Brian, because he took the microphone, he gave the initial happy talk, connected with the audience, and then sat down cross-legged in the middle of the ring and challenged hangnail Adam Page to a rematch right here, right now. Let's go. And nothing happened. And no music. And Jim Ross is like, do we know if Hangman's here? And Punk waits, and nothing happens. And then Punk gets up and says, that's not cowboy shit, that's coward shit. And then he says, let me give you some advice that I suggest you take. And that was a very key word. Let me give you some advice that I suggest you take. The apology must be as loud and public as the disrespect. And if anybody else back there has a problem with the champ, come on down. No takers. It was not written in the format for there to be any takers, and nobody got froggy and jumped. Should we talk about the rest of the promo, or should we delve deeper into this now, Brian? What do you think?
The Punk Hangman stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, because I guess the second part of the promo is a whole different thing, so we should probably, if we're going to talk about it here.
Okay, so apparently, from what we are now hearing from a variety of sources, including people on Twitter and even Uncle Dave, who we know has the pipeline over there in that company, a lot of people started out, well, what the fuck was that? And they heard that Punk went into business for himself, that Page was never scheduled to come out, that everybody was shocked and amazed that he had said that because nobody knew anything about it. And as well, they were starting to say, well, he's unprofessional for doing that because it buried old Hangman, buried Adam Page. But then some more details started coming out, and I started seeing this yesterday on Twitter, and then Uncle Dave has a report on it in this week's Observer, I guess. They're long sentences with not a lot of punctuation, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but summarizing, and the Reader's Digest version is apparently, remember, Brian, when Page and Punk were in the main event of the pay-per-view earlier this year? Punk was about to beat Page and win the title, and they had a live interview on Dynamite, and at the time we said, what in the fuck was this? Did they have something that they thought Page was going to just be great at delivering and he just melted down and botched it all? Or was he turning heel in the middle of the ring, accusing Punk of, being all of this and that, and we got to protect AEW from you? It was something that the shit he was saying had no bearing on any of the way that this match or any of these people had been presented, and it was speaking in riddles and one of those deals where the smart fans are going to know, but everybody else thinks this guy's a raving, just gibberish. And we even said, was he trying to turn heel, or did he just not realize he was doing it because he sounded like such a whiny little bitch?
Yeah, even the smart fans didn't know.
Yeah, well, apparently that was Page doing the same thing to Punk, going off the beaten path, off the topics that had been discussed in order to take up for his company and his friends and the people who started this revolution, because there was something Paige did an interview somewhere recently, and it was excerpted on Twitter and on the internet, where they asked, well, with all of the veterans and the great stars of the past and the people who have so much experience in this business, like Jim Ross and Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard and Mark Henry and this guy and that guy, does Paige ask them for advice? And he said, well, they may give me some advice every once in a while. Yeah, I guess I'll listen. But really, I don't think I need to ask for advice from these people, because I'm part of the movement that started this company and this revolution, and we've done just fine. So do we really need that advice? Yeah, you butterfly jean wearing dipshit, you really do need the advice, or elsewise, if you'd taken it, you might actually be over now instead of a whiny little bitch. So he said that, and Punk's verbiage was, let me give you some advice I suggest you take. So apparently, not only does Hangnail tell everybody he doesn't like to take the advice of people that are smarter and more experienced than him, but maybe he hadn't been taking advice from the guy that's trying to get him over working with him, because it's not the opposite. I believe I'll paraphrase a line from Mr. Punk. Punk didn't have to work with Paige. Paige needed to work with Punk to get in the main event that he deserved. And then if we find out that Paige was doing the same thing that they have accused Mr. Punk of here this week, being unprofessional by going into business for himself, and that was before, this was a TV promo where Punk expressed a few opinions and then went on to the meat of the matter, his opponent, Jon Moxley. When Paige apparently went to business for himself with his inexplicable rambling that he wasn't talented enough to pull off to where anybody would get it, that was before the main event of a pay-per-view. As I recall, that was one of the bigger houses, gates, and overall revenue-producing nights in the history of the company. And this fucking jackoff is out there trying to make up his own shit that he's, let's put it this way, not only is Adam Page not a lyrical wordsmith, he can barely fucking read the cue cards. So he didn't need to try to be jousting with Punk anyway. And that's why I think Punk looked so confused when he was doing it, because they had to have a plan when they went out there, and it had to make sense, or elsewise they wouldn't have gone out there until it did, as long as Punk was involved. But when old Hangnail bows up and starts doing a bunch of shit that doesn't make any sense, how is Punk is he going to be unprofessional and say, you just said a bunch of shit that I don't understand and you're not supposed to say, so I don't know what to say back to you because you're a fucking idiot? What's he supposed to do? He's trying to sell a pay-per-view. They're lucky enough to have a mainstream wrestling star that hasn't degenerated into a parody of himself doing song and dance routines over dinner and constantly changing his gimmick and latching on to other people to help buoy his sinking career. They've got a money generator, CM Punk. And they've got a entitled, whiny, fragile, not susceptible to advice or criticism little cowboy. Cowboy, want to be a cowboy, baby. With my butterfly jeans and my pink t-shirt. Cowboy, baby. They're grating on each other is what we're trying to say. And there's no leadership in this company. We've talked about that every week. Tony will not put his foot down because Tony don't have a foot. He's got a couple of chicken feet. He's got claws. So now it's all breaking down. And you got the people who are in the business to do business and make money and get over and or fucking sell tickets or whatever. And you've got people that got in business to take a billionaire's money because they think they're talented for some unknown reason. Somebody has convinced them they know what they're doing. And they now want to get all their friends' jobs. And if their friends don't have jobs or jobs that they want them to have, then they get mad and then they hijack the program to petulantly fucking protest. Have I summarized this approximately from what we're hearing now from Uncle Dave and a variety of people about this situation that now has come to a head, but has been simmering for a while?
I guess so, and I want to make a statement, so I'm going to just reiterate it for a second. The go-home promo, the face-to-face promo before the pay-per-view, where Punk won the AEW championship, Adam Page decided on live TV, with the biggest star in the company opposite him, to, whatever you want to say, go off script, even though there's not really a script, but he decided to go into business for himself. He went rogue. He was the rogue cowboy. And CM Punk, to his credit, played it off perfectly. I don't understand what you're so mad about, because he didn't understand what was going on at the time.
Right.
We're now led to believe, we'll talk about this in a little bit, that it was apparently Adam Page taking up for Colt Cabana. But let me ask you this, a bigger thing I'm thinking, and maybe I'm just thinking as a businessman here, even though I'm not a promoter, but Adam Page, right before this big pay-per-view, does this on TV live to the biggest star in the company. He's lucky Punk would do business with him at the pay-per-view. I wouldn't have.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When you double-cross somebody on live television to try to get the advantage, whether it's verbal or physical, how do you ever trust that person again? And so, yeah, if that's the case, if Punk had wanted to make a fucking issue out of it, he could say, well, you know what? The motherfucker, the little Weasley bastard that nobody ever heard of 2 years ago, he double-crosses me on live national television. Who's to say he's not going to double-cross me on live national pay-per-view? So fuck you, Tony. Get a replacement for me. Because I'm the money match, not the fucking idiot that you thought would be a good champion because he spent 2 years tap dancing with twinkle toes. So that, again, where do these guys get their balls from? Who do they think they are? They don't have a firm grasp of their status in the community or in the wrestling pecking order. They think they're over because Tony Khan doesn't tell them what to do. But when they get talent out there that does know what to do and they can't follow instructions, they need to either follow or get the fuck out of the way. But I guess we got Page out of the way for right now. So apparently we'll see what happens. If Page is a cowboy, let him bulldog Punk. Because, you know, a lot of people say, well, Punk proved he couldn't fight in the UFC. Well, he's had 2 more fights in the UFC than Adam Page has, which is 2. And he's done the training, and he's got a little bit of the fucking technique. So if I was just going to place some money on somebody's head in a fight between Adam Page and CM Punk, I'm not betting on the guy wearing butterflies on his crotch.
He's lucky Punk didn't kick his ass in the back right after that segment. Seriously, because Punk could have.
Well, he could. Here's the thing. There's not a lot of goddamn Gracie family members in AEW. There's a few of them there that have the credentials and have the fucking capability, and they're mostly fucking decent people. But all the goddamn assholes couldn't whip cream with an outboard motor and couldn't say suey if the hogs had them. So I think Punk's UFC fucking record would trump the goddamn time they told the guy off at the indie show in Pomona or Reseda or wherever the fuck they're at. Anyway, let's get on to Jon Moxley. Oh, God, I can't believe I said those words.